Now, Sadiq Khan has been accused of failing the capital after it emerged that more than 1,000 people have been killed during his time as Mayor of London. According to police estimates, 1,008 homicides have been recorded since Khan was first elected, including 5 in the first 10 days of January this year. The devastating data comes as Khan refuses to provide £70 million to fund additional Met Police reforms, despite finding a bumper £30 million for unions to avert tube strikes. The recent fatal stabbing of a 20-year-old near a southwest London train station and the New Year's Eve killing of 16-year-old Harry Pittman in Primrose Hill underscore growing concerns of a continuing crime wave. The Mayor's office insists that homicide levels have fallen to their lowest since 2014. Sadiq Khan seems to say very little about crime under his watch. We very rarely, when we've seen some, I mean, all deaths and certainly murders of children are an incredible tragedy. Some, for reasons we never know, are more high profile than others. The case of Harry Pittman is a good example that has got national media. We hear nothing. We really hear very little. We hear Sadiq Khan talk a lot about his cameras and nabbing drivers who happen to be in a vehicle that doesn't conform to his man-made idea of what a decent car is. We hear a lot about that. I see him on TV an awful lot wanging on about ULEZ and congestion, and trying to save lives. I can't think of the last time I've heard Sadiq Khan enthusiastically, passionately and angrily talk about crime on his own watch. I think he's a horrendous example of a politician. I thought that when he was a Labour minister, and I continue to think it now. And if you wanted any evidence of that, it's in just this single story. Whatever else people might say, well, he did this, that was good, whatever else, this one story is enough for me to say, I don't know how this man can hang on to that job. It's a very responsible position.
It is extraordinary that he enjoys a level of political popularity that he does. He was absolutely B-list in the Labour administration. Correct. He was never an impressive minister. And look, these figures are grotesque, and London is becoming more lawless. You know, our very own Alex Phillips from Talk was a victim of an attempted mugging in broad daylight on Oxford Street this week. I brought my kids into centre of town a few days ago, and I had to give them a briefing on, you know, be very, very careful with your phones and all of that. You know, I don't want to bring children up in this kind of environment, and I happen to live in nice areas. Imagine how it is in the rougher parts of town where, you know, you're constantly vulnerable to being attacked. And we've got a mayor who doesn't seem to think that this is a #1 priority all day, every day. I do not care about ULEZ. Sort out the stabbings. Sort out the murders.
Well, I think the reason he's maintaining his position is because...
Lack of competition.
Lack of competition. I mean, he is 25 points ahead of Susan Hall. And I can hear people saying, who is she? Yeah. Exactly. Right. She is the Conservative candidate.
Appalling.
She is beyond useless.
Appalling.
I mean, I hate to be so rude, particularly about her. She seems actually moronic when I've seen her being interviewed. I've never seen somebody, I've rarely seen somebody so unimpressive.
It's inexplicable that the Conservative Party, which is so arrogant in so many respects about how important it is and what wonderful people support it and represent it, cannot come up with someone more impressive than Susan Hall.
I find it extraordinary. I mean, this is largely a separate point. Sorry, JJ, to talk over what you're about to say. But
Make it good.
Well, it's the two-party system again, isn't it? I was interviewing Howard Cox this morning, who's the Reform candidate for Mayor of London. Howard's an incredibly impressive guy. Yeah. He's passionate. He speaks the language of the average person on issues that affect the average person, particularly things like knife crime and all the rest of it.
Yeah, he won't have
But more than anything, that's the problem. And he's likeable as well. But he won't be in all those TV debates because of where the ranking system from the way the voting situation works. And we'll go back to the same thing. It'll be Sadiq Khan or Susan Hall, and we all know how that's going to end.
I think people are fed up of the two-party system. Correct. I think if we had the rerun of the referendum on 100%. PR, it would be different. But, JJ, I'm really keen to know what you think.
I don't think Khan does enough to tackle knife crime. He is not wrong in the statistics. Statistically, London is safer than it was 5-6 years ago. That is true, whether you like it or not. I know it feels...
I think that's how you measure it.
Well, it depends how you measure it, but it may feel more lawless. It certainly feels that way, but crime is down. And compared to Merseyside, Greater Manchester, West Yorkshire, the Met area actually has a much lower crime rate than those other places. So he's not wrong in what he's saying, but he's still not doing enough, in my opinion, to stop knife crime. Just for the pure fact that he won't actually come out and speak about it.
Yeah.
Last year, he was, what was it, Mate? He launched that one Mate campaign to stop men talking to women in a derogatory manner.
The bikini body stuff on the tube and the...
You can't show a hamburger on the tube?
Yeah.
He's quite animated about showing a burger.
Exactly.
And the whole staring thing, that's another thing that he's put resources into.
Yeah.
What about stabbing, not staring?
But, yeah.
One's a little bit more fatal than the other.